Once upon a time, in a magnificent forest, where the trees formed a green canopy above the earth, and the ground was covered in a soft, mossy blanket and colorful wildflowers, there lived a fox with a red coat that gleamed like the flames of a summer sunset. However, this fox was not like the others. She had an unusual passion and a unique hobby that set her apart from the other animals in the forest: collecting leaves. But these weren't just any random leaves that fell to the ground by chance. Each leaf she selected was unique, chosen for its vibrant color, peculiar shape, or distinctive texture. For her, each leaf held deep meaning, as if it were a fragment of her very life. These leaves were far more than mere pieces of nature. For the fox, they were like time capsules, symbols of precious moments and unforgettable adventures she had experienced. With each new leaf she found, she added a new page to her personal diary, a silent narrative of her journeys through the vast forest, the friendships she made over time, and the lessons she learned from nature. She treated these leaves with the utmost care, as if they were rare gems. To protect them, she created a secret hiding place beneath the deep roots of an ancient tree, which stood like a sentinel of time in the heart of the forest. This sacred place was her sanctuary, a refuge where she could lose herself in the memories and stories those leaves held. Whenever the fox wanted to revisit her memories, she would go to her secret hideout and spend hours admiring her collection. Each leaf brought back the essence of a time that had passed, but that remained alive in her heart. For the fox, these leaves were not just parts of nature. They were chosen with a greater purpose. Each one had its own significance, representing moments of discovery, growth, and learning. These leaves were small reminders that, even in the loneliest of journeys, we are all connected in some way. Among all the leaves she had collected over the years, 3 held special meaning. The first was a vibrant red, almost like a ruby flame, representing the day the fox decided to explore beyond the boundaries of her territory. She ventured into a secret cave, whose walls were adorned with crystals that sparkled in the sunlight. That day was not just about discovering a magical place, but also a symbol of her courage and curiosity, qualities that always guided her as she explored the unknown and learned from every new experience life in the forest offered. The second leaf was golden, radiant like the first rays of sunlight that filtered through the treetops in the morning. It reminded her of the day she met an elderly wolf, a wise old creature who lived in seclusion in the farthest corners of the forest. Under the shade of an ancient oak, the wolf shared old stories of the forest and taught the fox profound lessons about the interconnectedness of all living beings. That afternoon, the fox learned the importance of respecting the cycle of life and listening to the elders who had walked long, challenging paths before her. The wolf's wisdom illuminated her heart, and she began to see the world around her with new eyes. The third leaf was green, fresh, and vibrant like the plants that bloom at the height of spring. It symbolized the day when, during a violent storm, the fox found a small bird that had fallen from its nest. In an act of compassion, she rescued the bird and placed it back in its safe haven. That act of kindness reaffirmed the fox's connection to the world around her, reminding her that, despite their differences, all living creatures are interconnected. The gesture reinforced her belief that helping others is essential, and that even the smallest actions can have a profound impact on another's life. These 3 leaves, for the fox, were not just bits of plants, but symbols of significant moments in her life. They were witnesses to her growth, her adventures, and the lessons she learned along the way. Each leaf carried with it a piece of the fox's essence, a precious memory that connected her to her past experiences and accomplishments. However, the forest was also home to a mischievous and unpredictable wind that loved to travel through the trees, carrying everything it encountered along the way. The wind, in its playful nature, made no distinction between dry branches, fallen leaves, or the precious leaves that the fox guarded with such care. Whenever the wind passed through the forest, some of the fox's treasured leaves were swept away, disappearing forever. With each lost leaf, the fox's heart filled with sadness, and over time, a growing resentment took root inside her. She began to hate the wind for taking her precious memories away. As the fox's bitterness towards the wind grew, her joy began to fade. A veil of sadness and loneliness enveloped her spirit, and her once bright and welcoming disposition gave way to a heavy silence. She distanced herself from her friends in the forest, from the games she used to share with the other animals, and even from the meals in good company that once brought her so much happiness. The fox believed that by isolating herself, she would be protected from further losses and pain. However, she didn't realize that this choice also kept her away from love, new friendships, and the adventures that could help heal her wounded heart. Yet, the isolation didn't bring the peace she had hoped for. In fact, with each lost leaf and each memory evoked by the remaining leaves in her collection, the emptiness in her heart only grew. She failed to understand that the resentment she felt towards the wind was a battle she fought alone, as the wind, in its free and unpredictable nature, could never comprehend her pain. It continued to sweep through the forest, unaware of the suffering it caused, moving carelessly among the trees without realizing the impact it had on the fox's life. Over time, the fox began to feel the effects of her sadness. Her physical and emotional health started to deteriorate. The energy she once dedicated to exploring the forest and caring for her leaf collection was now consumed by dark thoughts and the resentment she carried. She felt tired, discouraged, unable to find joy in the things that once made her happy. It was at this moment that the fox, in a moment of deep reflection, realized that forgiveness was necessary, not for the wind, but for herself. She understood that forgiveness wasn't a gift she would give to the wind, but rather a liberation for her own heart. At that instant of clarity, a ray of hope pierced the darkness surrounding her soul, and she began to walk a new path, one of healing and reconciliation with herself. From a distance, a wise owl, who lived in the tallest branches of the forest, noticed the fox's internal struggle and decided to intervene. The owl, with her calm voice full of wisdom, landed beside the fox and said, "Forgiving is an act of release. What you need to understand is that we are all part of a greater cycle. Losses and gains are inevitable, and by sharing your pain, you will begin to heal." The owl's words touched the fox's heart, and she decided to act differently. Instead of confronting the wind with anger, as she had planned, the fox simply expressed her feelings. She met the wind and calmly spoke about how she felt. To her surprise, the wind listened. Although it couldn't return the leaves it had taken, it brought new leaves, each carrying the promise of new memories and new adventures. Over time, the fox learned to forgive the wind, realizing that holding on to resentment kept her trapped in the past and prevented her from seeing the beauty of the present. By forgiving, the fox freed herself from the chains of bitterness that had bound her, and she found the peace she had been searching for. She realized that forgiveness was a key that opened the doors to emotional freedom, allowing her to move forward with lightness and hope. Moral of the story: forgiveness is not a gift we give to others, but an act of love and release for ourselves. When we hold on to resentment, we imprison ourselves in a cycle of pain. But when we learn to forgive, we make room for new experiences, new joys, and new possibilities. Forgiveness frees us, reconnects us to the present, and allows us to live fully. If you enjoyed this message, don't forget to like, comment, and share it with your friends and family. Subscribe to the channel for more inspiring stories. See you in the next video. God bless you.